Okay, Oak Rovers, this is going to be a video to help you solve a multi-step equation with the distributive property. Now, whenever I solve problems like this, I always go through a series of steps. And the steps I have listed over here on the right-hand side of the screen. The first step is I'm going to use the distributive property to get rid of the parentheses. After I do that, I'm going to combine my like terms on one or both sides of the equation. My third step is going to have two parts. The first thing I'm going to do is get all the variables to one side of the equation. After I have all the variables to one side of the equation, I want to make sure I get the numbers to the other side of the equation. And then the last step for solving a problem like this is I'm going to find out what one of the variables is equal to. And I'm going to do that by undoing the multiplication or the division on the side where the variable is at. Let's see how this works in real life. So the problem I have is 16 minus 2 times 5 plus 6x is equal to negative 90. Now the key to this problem is I'm going to have to distribute a negative 2 through the parentheses. The most common mistake is people think they're just going to distribute a 2 through the parentheses, but I've got to distribute the sign that comes with it. So let's see how that works. And I've kind of circled the negative 2 here because I'm going to distribute the whole negative 2, not just the 2. So I'm going to take negative 2 times 5, and that's going to be negative 10. And then I'm going to take negative 2 times 6x, and that's going to be negative 12x. So let's see what I have after I distribute that negative 2 through the parentheses. The 16 stays the same. Negative 2 times 5 is equal to negative 10. Negative 2 times 6x is equal to negative 12x. And I still have equal to negative 90. So now I've done the first step. I've gotten rid of the parentheses. Now let's go on to step 2. Step 2 says combine like terms. Now on the right side of the equation, I just have a negative 90. So there's nothing I can really combine on the right side of the equation. But on the left side of the equation, I have 16, negative 10, and negative 12x. I'm going to combine the 16 and the negative 10 because they are both the numbers. Well, 16 and negative 10 make 6, so I'm going to be left with 6 minus 12x equals negative 90. The only thing I did there is I just combined the 16 and the negative 10. Now I just have a simple two-step equation. I already have the variables on one side of the equation. My variables are already on the left side of the equal sign. So what I have to do next is get the numbers to the other side of the equation. What that means is I'm going to have to get rid of this 6 on the side where the variable's at. Now I start a two-step equation by making my fence, and what that fence is going to do is it's going to remind me that whatever I do to one side of the equation, I've got to do to the other side also. So I've got to get rid of a positive 6 because the negative sign goes with the 12x. So I have positive 6 and negative 12x on this side of the equation. In order to get rid of a positive 6, I've got to combine it with the negative 6. But remember, whatever I do on one side of the equation, I have to do on the other side of the equation also. Let's see what I have left after I do that. On the left side, I have negative 6, positive 6, and those are opposites, so they just make 0, and I have a negative 12. So I'm just going to be left with negative 12x on the left side of the equation. On the right side of the equation, I have negative 90 and negative 96. When I combine those, they make negative 96. Now, I'm already down to my last step. I know that negative 12x is equal to negative 96. I want to find out what one of the variables is equal to. So I want to find out what 1x is equal to. I have to undo multiplying x by negative 12. The opposite of multiplying by negative 12 is dividing by negative 12. But remember, whatever I do to this side of the equation, I've got to do to the right side of the equation also. Negative 12 divided by negative 12 is just 1. So on the left side of the equation, I'm just left with x. On the right side of the equation, I have negative 96 and negative 12. When I divide those two numbers, I get a positive 8. So my answer for this is x is equal to positive 8. Now the one thing I want you to notice on this problem is how I've organized my work. If you notice, I have my numbers right underneath each other. I kind of keep my x's kind of right underneath each other. And when you do that, it makes it a lot easier to follow what you're doing, and it's a lot easier for the teacher or other people to tell what you're doing also. Hopefully this video helped.